Okay, so paying, what fees should you not be paying? Should you be paying? And the death of the check when it comes to paying rents. Checks are being abolished. So we're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Goodbye, check. Bye-bye, check. Rest in peace, check.
See you later, passbook, pocketbook, checkbook.
Oh, what happened there? Like the checks have, if you've missed it, guys and girls, first move Macquarie Bank in November. I think it's the 20th of November. No more cash or checks in or out of Macquarie Bank, and it makes you think, wow, when are the banks going to be moving next on checks, which I think will be sooner than cash. But you know, a cashless society, no checks, and now it's moving over to our tenants because they're saying we've got to have one free method to pay our rent, and if we can't do checks, what can we do?
That's right. It's always been a little bit of a contentious point when it comes to the fee-free options. Every agency is different in what fee-free option they have to offer. But to be fair, there's only a couple really. You can't pay your rent with cash. We didn't collect cash for rent for more than 15 years ago, from what I remember. And even then, it wasn't, nobody wanted to take it because it was liability to the office, of course, and rent can be a lot of money. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a lot of money.
So in the interim of that, excuse me, that's where these third-party companies have evolved, and we're in a society where apps, we rely on all our apps and all our internet banking and things like that. So it was only natural that would come about, that there's a safe, secure way to pay without checks or cash. But let's talk about checks for a little bit. Checks can bounce. So when you receive a check, you're effectively paying the owner for money that you hope to be there. And then 3 or 4 days later, the accounts team goes, oh, that check bounced, and now we have to reverse that money back from the owner. But since we've already paid it to the owner, how do we reverse that payment? We have to wait for the tenant to then make a replacement payment to then reverse the payment that bounced. And then there's a fee attached to that, because that's a lot of manpower for accounts, that you've got to stop the check with the bank, you've got all these people are involved. And I think from when I first started, it was $30 dishonored check fee that we used to charge.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't have the money to pay rent, you could just bring rent in a check.
Yeah.
It's like the I'm trying to think of the movie of Leonardo DiCaprio. He used to forge all those checks and just pay everyone.
Well, it's an archaic method, really, but it's amazing how many people are still solely reliant on them. I'd say it's probably 2 to 3% of our portfolio will demands checks. So that's obviously finished now. The choice was taken away because of banks. Other rental. So, but still, what I don't understand is, did people have check accounts as a free method? I never thought checks were free to write out.
I don't know what their banking fees would be annually for a checkbook, but to write a check and pay someone for it, yes, you're not paying a merchant fee or a service fee for that. So I don't know.
So paying your rent, guys, if you just tuned in, check, no good. Cash, no good. Not acceptable for most agents for paying your rent. What else is not acceptable?
Goods. We don't receive goods for payments as opposed to currency, I guess.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely no Bitcoin, nothing like that. Gold or whatever.
All right. So what methods are accepted by real estate agents? Then towards the end, we're going to talk about the free methods that are accepted by real estate agents when paying rent. Now, and people are having this arm wrestle with their agency all over Australia, all over Sydney, New South Wales, because agents operate and use different systems. For example, some agents will give you their bank number to deposit into their bank, which is pretty rare. Some agents will use a third party provider. We call it a gateway. So they'll actually have a company that will actually handle the payments, and then there'll be clearance days. Cleo, you know about those clearance days. Can you explain what a gateway is?
Yeah, it's a third party, like you said, that manages the rent for the tenant, and it gets processed on their end, and then they deliver it to us in a bank pay file, cleared funds. And that's important that they're cleared funds. Once we've received those, they go to the owner directly. Now, the gateway is there to allow convenience from the tenant, so they don't have to come into the office. They can basically log online if they wish, manage the transactions themselves, or like the majority of our tenants, they have a direct debit arranged, fortnightly payments, the Monday of every fortnight, the money just automatically comes out. That is probably the most popular way to pay rent in today's times. You are busy at work, you have direct debit set up for your energy, your gas, your phone bill. So it is, from what I know, common, but I do also get pushback from tenants regarding the third party, and the only reason is that there's a transaction fee of 80 cents. Now, that 80-cent transaction fee, regardless whether or not it's just the principal or it's the amount, is 80 cents. So if you pay monthly, you could chop that down and only have one transaction fee of 80 cents.
Yep.
So, and people don't realize when you go to the shops and you tap your card, you're paying a surcharge for that as well. Like on your debit card, you think, oh, it's free, I'm just tapping. But if you go into your statements and you look, there's merchant fees everywhere that you're unaware of what you're paying. So that 80 cents is quite minimal. And when I'm saying that, I'm saying that delicately, because I do know that it's still money. 80 cents can add up. I understand that. But we all pay these fees everywhere that we go. So legislatively, I understand there has to be a free method. So this is the contentious point of why we get pushback on using a third party.
Even some of these third-party gateways, I've noticed, actually have some incentives for. They do a point system, like a credit card point system, where you can actually make back a lot more. You can donate these points to charity, but for $2,000 worth of rent or $4,000 worth of rent to be hit 80 cents, not bad, not bad.
No, and it's safe. You get a unique identifying number that's only allocated to you and your tenant property. You get incentives, like you said. You can actually use your third party as a, what do you call it? So when you go to the bank and you want to get a loan, and they can give you a transaction of all your payments, same with your ledger, and that can go towards, your merit system there. But the only thing with a third party that I would say, if you're moving out and it's last minute, you need to cancel your direct debit. This is where property managers and tenants feel that the third party fails them. And it's not a big deal about the fee for a lot of people. It's more that sometimes the debit hasn't been stopped in time and money's come out of your account and you've already moved. And then we get the blame.
We put it in writing. We put it in writing, letting the guys know that are moving out. Hey, don't forget to stop your payment gateway, your third party gateway, and they forget.
Yeah.
And then a payment comes out. Now, we agents cop crap on social media over over some of these things. You've taken money out of my account that I didn't know about. For instance, we had one on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. How the hell does that happen? Is that what we're talking about here? That people don't stop, or was it a different
Yeah.
situation?
No, I mean, people think that we have control, and the control that we have is setting you up as a tenant user. And if
Yeah,
you have an authorized email or form, because I have to fill in forms to sometimes create a one-off payment. Sometimes tenants say, I've didn't have money in my account. Can you please draw this week again? So then we log on again and draw that week. Any payment that a tenant makes towards their rent goes to their rent, to their ledger. If it's overpaid, it gets paid back automatically. You can't have a vacate date of tomorrow and rent be then transferred. It sits in a tenant holding fund in the software, and then once that money's clear, it goes back to the tenant. So yeah, we do. We get a lot of backlash. So we have always put it in our vacate letter that if you're vacating, it's your responsibility to cancel your automatic debit. You can do that two ways. You can do it directly through the gateway, so whoever the provider is, or you can even do it through the banks, like apps and things. You can say, I've got this direct debit set up. I want to make sure it doesn't go any further than this date. And they can do that as well. So you can have, double security if you're very conscious of that. But look, we're all human. Sometimes things happen, we have the clearing processing days, which are a contentious point. So if it's come out of your account and you've overpaid, we don't receive it for a few days. And we understand that can be devastating for some people. And I guess this is what's arisen out of social media backlash that we sometimes get. But once that money clears, we put it back straight away, like it gets transferred back to the tenant. And then we do sometimes say, well, look at your vacate letter. It clearly states you need to cancel your debit. It's not my fault or the property manager or accountant's fault that that's come through. We are all here to, fix the problem, the solution. I mean, this doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened enough for, people to write about it. And let's face it, we all cop
it's an
social
issue.
media. Yeah, and the third party service, like we said, is there to help manage tenants' rent. It's there to be convenient. It's not there for any other reason other than to have a secure way of paying rent. Now, with free methods of paying rent.
Free.
Free, yeah. So
Free. Tell me free.
Nothing's free, no. Like you said, it's very rare that an agency will allow funds to be deposited direct into a trust account, especially an agency of our size of over 2,000 tenants. Not just tenants, I'm forgetful. Sometimes I transfer, I don't put a reference in. So if you could imagine the accounts person with, I don't know, $200,000 worth of rent payment coming in every day, and people don't put their reference numbers in, your rent is now just on a ledger in a trust account, and nobody knows who it belongs to. Which is another reason why these third-party gateways were created. So mistakes aren't made in that reference. Your rent won't get lost. It's always going to be your rent. It's not going to be receipted manually to the wrong tenant. These transactions get receipted manually that go from a trust account. So anyone that's got a similar name or a similar property, oops, we accidentally receipted it to this tenant or this property.
Yeah.
Huge problem.
So that gets eliminated with the third party gateways. Now, what is the free method?
It used to be check, but now there is no checks. So, we have struggled and, really, well, you've tried and helped, and, we're trying to figure out the best free method that's not cash or checks for tenants to pay rent. There is a BPAY option for some agents and some properties. We've been looking into something similar. At the moment, I can't, off the top of my head, think of any other free other than direct transfer or BPAY.
Yeah. So, guys and girls, that's what you're chasing for in the industry for if you're going free. But I do have to say that flexibility for 80 cents for the guys. We use simple rent. And for that flexibility for tenancies and agencies and harmony between landlord, tenant, agent, I think the third party gateways have much better flexibility. That's what I'd be chasing out there if I was a tenant or a landlord. But it's it's a real pinch point for the industry and for tenants and landlords and agents alike out there. So we just thought we'd cover that today a little bit on gateways, third party gateways, free rent.
Oh, well, I hope that's helped some people understand the third party gateway. So yeah,
Cleo, thank you so much.
no problem. Bye.
Bye bye bye.